Hello and welcome to the JESIP Awareness Package for Wider Responders. This package has been designed to provide awareness of the Joint Emergency Services Interoperability Programme, or JESIP. It is aimed at those who work in Category 1 and 2 responders and appropriate partner or volunteer organisations involved in multi-agency response to major incidents. Contents. The contents of this session will include an introduction which will explain the aims of this session, provide some context for JESIP and the available training products. A JESIP overview covering the aim and purpose of JESIP, the background and rationale to its initiation, and the programme outputs and benefits. The JESIP Doctrine section covers the hierarchy of emergency response guidance and where JESIP fits, the principles for interoperability and the joint decision model. And implications for other responders will cover both on-scene response and wider response. Introduction. The aim of this session is to raise awareness of the joint doctrine, other JESIP outputs, and the implications for Category 1 and 2 responders and their partner organisations. JESIP is focused on the interoperability of the police, fire and ambulance services in the early stages of a major or complex incident. However, the principles described in the joint doctrine are also applicable to the full range of emergency responders and can be applied to smaller scale incidents, wide area emergencies and pre-planned operations. This package is designed to explain what JESIP means for wider responders working in partnership with emergency services. JESIP in context. JESIP training products. In the 3 boxes on the screen, you will see the JESIP training products that have been designed for different people within the police, fire and ambulance services. These include commanders, control rooms and all frontline staff. We will give you a few moments to look at those boxes. In the 4th green box, you will see the JESIP products that are available for Category 1 and 2 responders and partner organisations. This includes the awareness package you are now watching and the operational staff e-learning package where it is relevant to your role. JESIP Overview. The JESIP aim and purpose. The aim of JESIP is to ensure that the blue light services are trained and exercised to work together as effectively as possible at all levels of command in response to major or complex incidents so that as many lives as possible can be saved. The purpose of JESIP. When the emergency services and partner organisations respond to major incidents, each organisation brings their own expertise to that situation. JESIP aims to improve how police, fire and ambulance services work together at the incident scene by enhancing their understanding of each other's expertise and ways of working. JESIP background and rationale. JESIP was set up in September 2012 at the request of the Home Secretary following a number of public inquiries which said better joint working between the 3 emergency services would enhance the collective ability to save lives and reduce harm. JESIP is a 2-year national programme, staffed by representatives from the Blue Light Services, which has the full support of chief officers and government departments. These include the Home Office, the Cabinet Office, the Department for Communities and Local Government, and the Department of Health. Following the coroner's inquests into the London bombings of July 7, 2005, the Right Honourable Lady Justice Hallett stated, "Although considerable progress has been made over the last 6 years, each organisation has accepted that there are lessons to be learned from 7/7 and improvements to be made. Despite substantial progress, there remains more that could and should be done." Here are some examples from previous major incidents in this country where lessons have been identified but sadly not been learnt. JESIP will provide. From the initial 2-year JESIP programme, we will aim to deliver the following: Interoperability Joint Doctrine, a core framework to enable effective interoperability extensively embedded and consistently applied. Training, operational and tactical command training, control room training, and continuation training for all frontline staff and wider responders. This will include e-learning, awareness-raising presentations, and classroom training. Testing and exercising, JESIP training validation exercises, and a regular standard airwave test regime for operational commanders. JESIP legacy, national interoperability governance arrangements, organisational learning arrangements with robust oversight to ensure lessons from exercises and emergencies are fully implemented. And some supplementary items: the distribution of police on-scene commander tabards, and a tri-service mobilisation procedure between national coordination centres. JESIP key benefits. JESIP will provide the framework for an effective and consistent joint response to incidents wherever they may take place. Declaration of major or complex incidents, sharing of information and mobilisation will be more efficient, supported by a common language, terminology and approach. Emergency services personnel will better understand the capabilities of their peers and will be competent in jointly establishing situational awareness, understanding of risk, and the use of command decision models. The figure to the right will now highlight the JESIP key benefits. They include effective governance structure and organisational learning for interoperability, consistent application of Doctrine to support joint working, joint situational awareness, understanding of risk and decision making, improved use of mobile communications, better coordinated deployment of resources at major incidents, an enhanced understanding of guidance roles, responsibilities and capabilities. JESIP Joint Doctrine. The JESIP Joint Doctrine was published in the autumn 2013. In relation to response to a major incident, it defines the principles for joint working, ways of working including the joint decision model, and a number of annexes. This diagram will show you where the JESIP Joint Doctrine sits in the hierarchy of guidance in relation to the response to emergencies. At the core of emergency response is the Civil Contingencies Act. Contained within this is Chapter 4, Emergency Preparedness and Emergency Response and Recovery. The JESIP Joint Doctrine provides what has been the missing National Joint Working Guidance and should sit above all other specialist, specific or local policies and procedures. In essence, the JESIP Joint Doctrine contains guidance about the initial actions the emergency services should take in the early stages of a major incident before they may need to mobilise specialist resources and then initiate specific procedures, such as for terrorist activity or an incident involving hazardous materials. Principles for interoperability. The Joint Doctrine sets out 5 principles which must be applied by responders when they are determining an appropriate course of action in the response to and coordination of an emergency. At the scene, the expected sequence of actions to follow these principles would comprise of the first meeting of police, fire and ambulance commanders, co-location, a joint assessment of the situation and prevailing risks, communication, joint understanding of risk and shared situational awareness, and a coordinated plan for action. We are now going to describe each of the 5 principles in more detail. Co-location. Co-location of operational commanders is essential and allows those commanders to perform the functions of command, control and coordination face-to-face at a single and easily identified location. This is known as the Forward Command Post, or FCP, which is a location near to the scene where the response is managed. Co-location is also usually desirable for tactical and strategic levels of command. The decision to co-locate tactical or strategic levels of command will depend on where commanders can best maintain effective command of the incident. This includes consideration of effective joint working with other services and other factors such as access to their own organisation's command and communication systems. Communication. Communication is the passage of clear, unambiguous and timely information relevant to an emergency situation. Meaningful and effective communication underpins effective joint working. The sharing of information, free of acronyms, across service boundaries is essential to operational success. This starts through pre-planning and between control rooms prior to deployment of resources. The understanding of any information shared ensures the achievement of shared situational awareness, which underpins the best possible outcomes of an incident. Coordination. Coordination is defined as the integration of multi-agency efforts and available capabilities which may be interdependent in order to achieve defined objectives. Coordination involves the integration of the priorities, resources, decision-making and response activities of each emergency service in order to avoid potential conflicts, prevent duplication of effort, minimise risk and promote successful outcomes. Effective coordination generally requires one service to act in a lead capacity. This will frequently be the police. In certain circumstances, other agencies may be more appropriate to lead, depending on the nature of the emergency, the phase of the response, and the capabilities required. Joint understanding of risk. Risk arises from threats, malicious attacks and/or hazards, accidents or natural events which will be seen, understood and treated differently by each emergency service. The joint understanding of risk is the process by which commanders work towards a common understanding of threats, hazards and the likelihood of them being realised in order to inform decisions on deployments and risk control measures that are required. This will include ensuring the safety of responders and mitigating the impact of risks to members of the public, infrastructure and the environment. Shared situational awareness. Shared situational awareness is a common understanding of the circumstances and immediate consequences of the emergency, together with an appreciation of the available capabilities and emergency services priorities. Achieving shared situational awareness is essential for effective interoperability in the emergency response and can be achieved by using the joint decision model described later in this session. Shared situational awareness relates not only to a common understanding between incident commanders, but also between control rooms and all tiers of the command structure. The Joint Decision Model, or JDM. All services use decision-making models in incident command situations. The challenge has been that whilst all models are designed to help commanders make effective decisions, Different terminology used by each service is known to have caused confusion on the ground when they work together. There has not previously been an agreed model for joint working. The JESIP Joint Doctrine defined the JDM following extensive consultation with each of the emergency services. The use of the JDM, which includes the approach to establishing shared situational awareness and an undertaking of a joint assessment of risk, will enable efficient and effective joint working amongst responders and help determine their priorities for action. Joint decisions must be made with reference to the primary aim of any emergency response, to save lives and reduce harm. We will now go through each step of the JDM in more detail. Gather information and intelligence. No one service can appreciate all dimensions of a major or complex incident. Wider understanding requires communication between organisations. All services use models to help them share information between their staff and their control rooms. In the past, the differing models used has caused critical delays in information sharing. The mnemonic methane has been agreed as an efficient and effective method of sharing information about an incident. Methane should be used to pass information to establish initial shared situational awareness. Assess risks and develop a working strategy. Understanding risk is central to emergency response. A key task for commanders is to build and maintain a common understanding of the full range of risks and the way that those risks may be increased, reduced or controlled by decisions made and subsequent actions taken. In a major or complex incident, the blue light services will have unique insights into risks, and by sharing that knowledge, a common understanding can be established. Consider powers, policies and procedures. Decision-making in an emergency will be focused on how to achieve the desired end state, and there will always be various constraints and considerations that will shape how this is achieved. Powers, policies and procedures relate to any relevant laws, operating procedures or policies that may impact on the desired response plan and the capabilities that are available to be deployed. Identify options and contingencies. There will usually be more than one option to achieve the desired end state, and it is good practice that a range of options are identified and evaluated. Any potential option or course of action should be evaluated with respect to suitability. Does it fit with the strategic direction? Feasibility. In resource terms, can it be done? Acceptability. Is it legal, morally defensible and justifiable? Take action and review what happened. Building situational awareness, setting direction and evaluating options all lead to taking the actions that are judged to be the most effective and efficient in resolving an emergency. As the JDM is a continuous cycle, it is essential that the results of those actions are fed back into the first box, gather and share information and intelligence. This will, in turn, shape any revision to the direction and the cycle continues. Implications for other responders. On-scene response. Essentially, there will be no change to the way in which other responders interact with the emergency services at the incident scene. The level, nature and timing of engagement with other responders will not alter. Other responders should benefit from an improvement in how the emergency services work together at the scene. A better coordinated and more efficient command structure should make integration of the activities of wider responders easier and more beneficial for all. Other responders attending the scene should be familiar with the principles for joint working and aware of the joint decision model so that they can engage in this process if required. Wider response. JESIP is focused on the on-scene response, but also aims to improve the effectiveness of emergency service control rooms in responding to major incidents. As with the improved on-scene response, this should make the integration of other responders' activities more efficient, but the level, nature and timing of engagement with emergency service control rooms will not alter. When communicating with control rooms, other responders should benefit from an increased level of awareness about the situation at the incident scene. Other responders who engage with emergency services control rooms should be familiar with the use of methane for passing information in the initial stages to establish shared situational awareness. What will follow JESIP? Following the initial 2-year programme, ensuring training continues and reaches all frontline staff and interoperability is embedded in how organisations respond to major incidents is paramount. JESIP legacy arrangements, including a national governance structure for interoperability, will maintain momentum in 4 key areas. Doctrine. Continuing to embed the joint doctrine. Training. Continuing to build strong foundations through training and CPD. Testing and exercising. Systematically testing interoperability through local and national exercises. Joint organisational learning. Learning lessons from major incidents and exercises and driving change. Just to recap on what this session has covered, here's a reminder of the contents we have gone through today. If you would like to know more about JESIP, further information can be found on the JESIP website. You can contact us via email and Twitter. But don't forget to talk to your local partners through your local resilience forum about getting involved in training or awareness sessions and testing and exercising opportunities. Thank you for watching this presentation. If you have any comments, you can send them to us via the contact form on our website www.jesip.org.uk.